so much for having me. This is really an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to be amongst all these amazing women. And Shannon, you are amongst them. You are at the helm of this summit. And it's really, as I said, an honor to be here to share our voices together.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. So tell me, I know you have your book is Find Your Voice, and
Yeah,
you've had quite the experience
there is.
that led up to where you it had become your purpose in life. So real quick, tell me the story about how you lost your voice.
Shannon, it's interesting. I come from a corporate world, corporate America, 25 years with one company. And while I was there, I was taking care of multi-million dollar teams and departments and not realizing I completely took any focus off of myself and put everything onto everybody else because that's what I was responsible for all these teams, all these people, all the time. And I never made time or took time for myself. That girl who so desperately needed it was calling to me for help, and I never paid any attention to her because I had this responsibility to take care of everybody, and I felt but her. And so in that process, I'm going to back up for a second. I think especially as women, we tend to do that. We are that caregiver that take care of everybody else, put yourself on the back burner on in the end of the to-do list if you're lucky enough to even make your own to-do list. And I never made it onto my own to-do list because it was everybody else that was, took precedence. And it was running myself into the ground. And literally, I ran myself ragged until I no longer had a voice. And I got sick. I just got sick. It was the Christmas season in corporate America. If anybody goes to any retail establishment during that time from, November, December, January, you could imagine. And I had, 5, 6 different teams, close to 100 people that I was responsible for, including some corporate initiatives, for the whole company placed upon me. So it was quite an undertaking. The more I did successfully, the more I was given to do. And I really didn't have it in me to say, this is too much. How can you expect this of me? And I never spoke up. And I kept doing, going. And I mean, if it was late at night, 1 in the morning, I would count. I was like, okay, there's 4 hours before my next shift, 5 hours before my next shift. I could do this. I could do that. I could get up early. And, it was just hours were tweaked. And my own candle, they said, burning the candle at both ends. There was no beginning and no end. It just burnt right through until I was almost done. And I got very, very sick and I ended up in the ER twice. So it was a devastating time for me personally and professionally. So, I often say losing my voice really began the journey, a very painful journey of finding my voice. And now helping other women really find theirs. And I'm going to say something, it's really very appropriate for me to go after your last speaker because so many things that she spoke about, I can speak about to the same, not body image, but it has to do with that too, about how you're treating your body, but it's what you're feeding, not just your body. We talk about diet. What diet is your mind on? What diet are you feeding it? Is it healthy language? Is it that you're not good enough? Or is it, words of the affirmation that I am pretty, I am smart, I am successful, I am good enough? Or is it words of degradation? I'll never be good enough. I'll never be successful. I'll never be fill in the blank of what that is. Because we compare ourselves, especially with social media, to everybody else and how successful they are doing all these other things. You're never going to be good enough if you're comparing yourself to their top echelon. You don't know where they came from. You only know what they're posting. I wrote an article last year about people's real life, REEL, versus their REAL.
Mm.
The reals that you see versus the real that it is. And if you're comparing yourself to someone's REEL, you're sadly mistaken because I don't believe strongly that anybody was handed the silver spoon on a silver platter and life is all hunky-dory and, through the rose-colored glasses. My shirt, my blouse today may be pink, maybe a rose color, but certainly that's not how life was. And I think once we own up to it and be authentically ourselves, that we can understand that it's okay. That once we say those things and we speak our truth, that you will see the women standing next to you and behind you and saying, oh my God, me too. There's another Me Too movement, and that's called authenticity and being real.
So I know you empower women to express their voice and find their confidence. What are ways that you do that?
It's really through my own journey of, as I was speaking about losing my own voice, people say, oh, well, how do you lose it? Well, it was, I believe, the metaphoric loss of my voice, the people pleasing, the fear of judgment, the limiting beliefs, the low self-esteem and low self-worth, always looking for outside validation for inner self-worth. That's what I believe the metaphoric loss took away the physical loss, and very painfully. There were sores all over my vocal cords, so I really could not speak. I was told as I lay in the ER, you can no longer be with the public. Now, anyone who knows me, I know several of these women on here do, that I am all about connection. I couldn't connect with anybody. The one person I needed to connect with most was the girl I was stuck with, myself. I was forced to do that. Now, I would love to say I was spiritual at the time. I did all these affirmations and journaling and all these things we talk about and hear about. I did none of them because I was not spiritual. I was not on this part. I was probably the beginning, I would say, of this journey. But I wasn't there then as I am now. You asked, how do I serve other women in this? I created the voice blueprint. And it takes my clients from vulnerability to empowerment. VOICE. It's an acronym along the journey of finding their own voice. You've got to be vulnerable. You got to start. I start with V, not just because it's the beginning of voice, but I had to think of what is something that I needed to do. The very thing I'm talking about, getting real, be vulnerable. Just let it go. All these things, the life that we feel people want us to live for them to make us enough versus who we really are, that we can own our voice and be true to ourselves. People say, who is your client? Who is your avatar? Most likely it's a younger version of you, or an earlier, I don't know, so younger. I shouldn't date us with age, but an earlier version of who we were at our, uncomfortable, I say the uncomfortable comfort stage, because we get comfortable being uncomfortable because it's something that we know, it's familiar. But where we really are and who we want to be, you have to be to become. I had to be still in my own muck. I had to sit in that stuff for almost 4 months. I couldn't swallow my own saliva. It was so painful. I'd wake up in the middle of the night in such pain. And I don't want to sit there and stay here because that's not what this is about. It's about finding your voice. But I want to walk you through that piece of it, because whether somebody's watching and says, that's where I am now, I'm in my own muck. It's like the butterfly. You go through the crawling, you fall down, you get up, you fall down, you get up again into that chrysalis stage. It's that uncomfortable, ooey, gooey, mucky, like I want to tear my skin out and just fly away stage. But until you can own that, that's the O in voice, owning your voice, owning who you are. Then can you really begin to grow your wings and spread your wings and fly. If you look outside, I love the monarch butterflies, but not every monarch is the same. Like they say, not every snowflake is the same. We are all different. We have such similar experiences. Maybe somebody out there didn't lose their voice physically, but where in your life have you been suffocated in silence? unafraid to express your true voice with courage. There's the C in voice, and confidence, because you're afraid of what somebody else might think. What might they say if I do this or say that? Who do I really need to be accepted? Well, I'm going to say you don't need to be anybody but who you are to be accepted, because your tribe will find you. And those who don't accept you for who you are and where you're at in your journey, just like you do spring cleaning with your clothes, do spring cleaning with your friends. And you say, well, what, Renee, what if it's family? Well, there's family too, friends who are like family. You just don't spend as much time in the sandbox with them. That's what I'll say. Don't play around so much with them. Don't welcome them into your life as much. Make time and take time for those who honor you and you honor them and appreciate you as you appreciate them. There will be an influx of those people. When I met Shannon, it was like this instant chemistry. I'm like, oh my God, I just adore you. I just adore it, right? I said, I'm going to say it right now. I fell in love with this beautiful angel, and I called her an angel too, on the other side of my computer. Because it doesn't matter if you're in person or if you're on a Zoom, if you have that energy where you can feel it. I'm an empath, so I definitely feel people. And Angela, I know her too. I could see her beautiful smiling face, and and Tracy Repchick, I know her too. Just beautiful people here. That's the right people in your life at the right time. I said yes to you because of who you are, not because who else is going to be there. Who do I know? Who don't I know? Nothing to do with that. Colleen, I love her to, oh my God, I love her so much. I didn't even know who was anybody. I just knew you called me to serve. And when I heard the title of this, I was all in. How could I not? It's about sharing our voices. Every woman on here is sharing their voice about a journey, a story that we don't necessarily make define us. Rather, we let us empower us and those we serve to find their voice, whether it's through the written word as an author, or through artwork, or through singing, however you find your voice. There's an art to it. And that's what we're all here to do, share our voices together. And impact, inspire, and empower are my 3 words that I always use, because that's what I'm here to do. Collaborate, give back, and share with love, with grace, and with gratitude.
Well, that's beautiful. I love it. Let me ask you something. So I know you went through the 4 months, you figured out what had happened to you, and that it was internal. And then this is when you started down your path. How long did it, how did you get it back? How did you get your voice back?
Well, like I said earlier, I truly believe it was in losing my voice that began that journey of finding it. And you're like, what does that mean? How does that happen? I had to get quiet. I love speaking. I love it's speaking and talking are 2 different things. You're speaking with people or you're talking at people. I like to speak with. It's a collaboration. A conversation is a collaborative effort. It's getting quiet, literally just getting out of my own head and into my heart and just being. The words silent and listen have the same letters. It's in that silence that we can listen to the inner voice, not the one with the degradation, but I'm speaking about the affirmations, the good enough, the non-comparative of other women, just being you, being authentically you, and sitting with yourself in that silence. Silence is golden. And listening, just get out of your head and just listen to the silence and listen to what comes. I'm a big proponent of journaling. I have a gratitude journal. I write it in the morning and at night. I give thanks. And some days they're not too pretty. Like, where was the gratitude? What happened? What went wrong? What went askew from my plan? And sometimes the curveballs, they're stepping stones. So it's possible instead of what didn't go right and what happened, what did go right? And find the golden nugget in it that maybe you got to pivot in a different way of how you can turn things around or help somebody else. Maybe you showed up late to something, but then when you showed up late, it was right on time to meet somebody you were supposed to meet. So it's really important to not knock yourself down, but to be your own best friend. You know, we're better friends to our friends than we are to ourselves. How would you treat your best friend if they came to you for advice? Would you say you're a piece of crap or anything? How could you do such a thing?
Mm.
You would open arms, open hearts, loving arms around them. It's okay. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. That's what you would say. But to ourselves, we kick ourselves down, then we get up, and as we're getting, we kick ourselves down again before we could fully even stand. Because we get so down on ourselves. So that's why I created the Voice Blueprint.
Mm.
Take women along that journey and I invite them to connect with me. Let's have those conversations. You have somebody here who's walked that path physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I believe when whether it's God, source, universe, there's definitely a higher power. And whatever you believe, I strongly do believe when you're brought through something so painful as the experience that I went through, there's a greater purpose than self, and that's to serve for a greater good. So I really encourage, the word encourage has courage, encourage. I encourage you to take that step. Call me, reach out to me. My calendar, I gave it to you. You've got that. I can put it in the chat again. Please reach out. Again, if there's no open spaces, please message me, Renee at reneereisch.com. I'm on every social media platform. On Instagram, it's at Reisch_Renee. On Facebook, it's Renee Reisch. LinkedIn, it's Renee Reisch. So please reach out. There's a question I see about what advice would I have for women who might be struggling and having their voices heard in corporate America? That's a great question. I wish I had spoken up. I didn't. I would encourage those women to also reach out to me because there's a way to do it. It's not just, you're always afraid because I was afraid. What happens if I say something? I saw people losing their jobs. I saw women getting blackballed. Like, I can't do that. I need to earn my living to pay my bills. I can't speak up. But there's ways to do it. It's not just agreeing with everybody and being that people pleaser. Are you pleasing yourself? Are you happy with what you're doing and who you're being? And if not, then it's time to change. Change isn't always bad. We're so averse to change. We're like, I don't want to change. This is what I know. Again, it's the uncomfortable comfort zone. I stayed there so long. I didn't even leave corporate America. They left me. I was supposed to have left. I believe I got a few Godsmacks in 2013 and 2017. I kept trying to go back to that corporate kind of a job. And they were probably looking down at me and go, are you kidding me? I tried to take you out in 2013. I tried to take you out in 2017. And you kept trying to go back because it's what I knew, but it wasn't who I was and who I was meant to be for the women whose voices have been suppressed and repressed for way too long. And the founder of Finding Your Voice Network, Finding Your Voice Network magazine. This book became a 4 times #1 bestseller. I never had on a bucket list to write a book. I even wrote in the book, who am I to write a book? I'm like, who cares about me? Who cares what I've done? But one time when I was out in nature, and I encourage people to get into nature, so I love nature, is again, it wasn't about me. My journey, yes. My story, yes. But the people I'm meant to serve for a greater purpose, that's the story. That's what it's about. So I love connecting. I listen instead of all music. When I get into nature, I look at the trees and the sky and I see the bunnies eating the grass. They're letting me walk up to them. I'm like a foot away from these rabbits. I can't believe I've gotten so close to them. Like they're not even running away. I'm like, I'm right there. And it's the trees, everything. I'm grateful for all of it because I'm grateful that I get to experience it. For a girl that was told she could no longer be with the public, that wasn't allowed out, I was looking at four walls for 4 months. And I fell into a dark, deep depression. And honestly, I didn't want to live. I did not want to live because to me, it was too painful to survive. I didn't know why I was able to wake up every morning. I'm like, just take me, just get me out of this misery. It hurts too much. Little did I know there was a greater purpose. There was a light at the end of the tunnel that I didn't even see. So it is important to reach out, connect. I know there's women out there. I know people listening and watching that you may be afraid. I don't want people to know. Listen, these ears are ready to listen. This heart is filled with love to wrap my arms around you. That's why I do one-on-one coaching. That's why I created the Voice Blueprint. What is your why? My why is every single woman out there, or the men who have women in their life who you know are not living their true life, their authentic purpose on who they are. We get one go around as far as I know at this life. Why not make it the best?
Now, I have another question for you. What would you say to women who are in the middle of a major transition and they're feeling stuck? What would you say to them in helping them feel empowered enough to use their voice?
That's where I would say reach out and connect. If it was a quick fix, I would have done it myself. I really would have done it. I would say, here, take two and call me in the morning.
Fair
But
enough.
that's where the vulnerability comes in, though, Shannon. That's a great question. That is where the vulnerability comes in, because you got to really know where do you want to be? What do you want in your life? What do you like? If you're in a stuck marriage or in a stuck job, you're, maybe a single mom taking care of everybody but yourself.
So,
The last conversation was about the weight. What weight are you holding on to on your shoulders? What weight? It's everything. It's all related. Are we having on ourselves that we're not expressing? So it's about letting go of those things that don't serve you any longer. I wish I had left corporate America years before. I felt so stuck. I'm like, what am I going to do now? Who's going to want me? I was so down on myself. The words were not of affirmation then. But I'm in a different place now because I'm here to serve those women who may be feeling that, who may be feeling stuck or insecure, or I don't even know what I'm supposed to do anymore. I'm in my 40s, 50s, 60s, and what is there left? You know what? My mom told me she's going to be 87 October. God bless her. Where there's life, there's hope. If you're breathing, then you can certainly reach out and we can have that conversation. And I will do anything I can to serve and support you, because I know what that feels like, to feel stuck, to feel like I may as well just stay here. This is what I know. I wasn't happy, but it's what I knew until I was forced to leave. It wasn't by my own account that I said, I'm going to do something. I wish I was smart enough at the time to say, I'm going to stop this and do something else. But it was like this popcorn trail that came up. And I kept picking up the pieces when I was released from my corporate job in 2017. That was a really rough year. After 25 years with that one company, that was in February of 2017. Then July, my best friend, she transitioned to the next life. Then December of 2018, my father. Very hard losses. I didn't even think I could go on. My best friend, we did everything and nothing together. It was, not one day goes by that I don't think of her, not one. My father, of course, my father. I'm actually in his old office. This is the chair I built for him. This is the office that he worked at, the desk he worked at. And I'm grateful that I get to be with my mom and I get to do the work I do around the world with women from all across, all walks of life. This to me has been a gift from heaven above to be able to serve the way that I do and the women that I do. Had I not gone through that pain, I don't think, as big as my heart is, I really still don't think I would have understood the depth of the pain that women actually suffer. The mental, the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, all the different ways that we suffer. Most of it is from our own suffering that we placed upon ourselves, the stories that we've told ourselves. We could change it. You don't have to be an author to do an edit to a book. You can edit your day. You can edit the hour. You can edit the people in your life any time you choose. It's a choice. We all have those choices. They're not always easy to make. Oh, yeah, you just do it. You just do this. You just do that. I'm not saying it's easy. Losing my best friend wasn't easy. My father wasn't easy. The job, it was a job, but it was security of 25 years. It was what I'd come to know. It was not who I actually was. So please reach out, connect. I look forward to it. Saskia, I see
I
your
know, I
beautiful
see
message.
Saskia's comments.
I don't know if I speak or
Oh, please do. Did you have a question?
I just want to just reinforce what I actually put in the chat. I mean, Renee, I don't have any words to really express how we are on the same frequency. You totally get what I had to be walking for, since March or before then. So in leaving corporate and heading into the entrepreneurial world. And this whole new life of purpose did open up. I discovered things that I didn't even know that capabilities I didn't even know that I had. And a whole network of people, including the beautiful Colleen, beautiful Shannon, and everybody, Julie Jones and everyone. And now you. And so we don't have enough people in the corporate world really encouraging us that, yes, there's something beyond this. We think that's all it is. And then it's a whole lot of fear that takes over too, because it's the unknown. No one knows exactly what it is to really make a living and so forth. When we venture outside, because there's not a whole lot of people are doing it. And if they're doing it, they're not sharing stories on how they actually overcome. So I commend you for being authentic and empowering so many people to walk in meaning. And I wish if I had more people like you who really can go out there and say the pain and stuff that I suffered, right? And so you suffered, and now you're being vocal about it. And that can actually cause a whole movement of people to really discover who they are and really just to walk in truth. So it's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for this talk. I came in at the right time.
Timing is everything. Thank you so much for your beautiful words. I received them. I would love to connect with you and speak. Yes, absolutely. And speak further. It is really, corporate America, we earn a living, but are we making a life?
I love that. I love that.
It's so important. And I wasn't making a life. I was running through it. My father used to say, stop and smell the roses. I'm going to throw myself under the bus for a minute here. You know what I did one day on my way to that corporate job? Out front and where I'm living, there's a bunch of rose bushes. I was running to my car and I said, I heard my father in my head when he was still here, and I still heard him to stop and smell the roses. I ran to the rose bushes. I smelled them and I ran back to my car. I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't think that's what he meant. And, it's just, we really need to think about that. Are we really making a life, or is it just earning a living that's going to make us a life?
Yeah.
It's so important. So I want to give a shout out to Julie Jones also, because she told me about this summit, and she's a beautiful soul as well. Just an honor to be here. Like I said, Shannon, Colleen, Angela, everybody, just to be around each of you is empowering. I speak about women's empowering and sharing our voices. When you're around people like this, you feel elevated, you feel confident, you feel empowered. And it's in that empowerment we find that courage and confidence to keep going forward in our own life with our own journey. It's such an honor to be here, Shannon. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much. Your story is very inspiring to me, and the things that you're doing from your experience and helping women finding their voice. It's a really incredible story. And I know when we met that you would be a great addition to the summit and empowering women. So thank you so much for being here.